Hi everyone, this is Dr. Jeeva. Moving on to the properties of saliva, the volume is about 1000 to 1500 ml per day. It is acidic. Specific gravity is 1.002 to 1.012 and saliva is hypotonic to plasma. Composition of saliva. Mixed saliva contains about 99.5% water and 0.5% solids. In solids, we have organic substances, inorganic substances, and gases. In organic substances, we have enzymes and other organic substances. These are listed in the slide and you can go through it. And in organic substances are sodium, calcium, potassium, bicarbonate, bromide, chloride, fluoride, and phosphate. And the gases are oxygen, carbon dioxide, and nitrogen. Normally, glucose is absent in saliva, but it is found in saliva during diabetes mellitus. Now, moving on to the functions of saliva. The functions of saliva are as follow. That is the preparation of food for swallowing, appreciation of taste, digestive function, cleansing and protective function, role in speech, excretory function, regulation of body temperature, and regulation of water balance. In preparation of food for swallowing, mucin secreted from the saliva helps in lubricating the bolus and facilitates the swallowing. Appreciation of taste. The dissolved food particles stimulate the taste bud. The stimulated taste bud and recognize the taste. The digestive function. The salivary amylase, maltase, lingual lipase helps in digestive process. The salivary amylase is a carbohydrate digesting enzyme. It acts on cooked or boiled starch and converts it into dextrin and maltose. Though starch digestion starts in the mouth, major part of it occurs in the stomach. The maltase is present only in traces in human saliva. It converts maltose into glucose. The lingual lipase is a lipid digesting enzyme. It is secreted from the serous glands situated on the posterior aspect of the tongue. It digests milk fats. It hydrolyzes triglycerides into fatty acid and diacylglycerol. Cleansing and protective function of saliva. The flow of saliva itself helps wash away pathogenic bacteria as well as food particles that provide their metabolic support. Saliva contains several factors that destroy bacteria. Lysozyme enzyme that attack bacteria, thiocyanate ions, bactericidal, digest food particle, thus helping further to remove the bacterial metabolic support. Saliva often contains several protein and antibodies that destroy the bacteria. And in role of speech, by moistening and lubricating soft parts of mouth and lips, saliva helps in speech. If the mouth becomes dry, articulation and pronunciation becomes difficult. Now moving on to the regulation of saliva. The saliva is regulated by nervous regulation and by reflex regulations of salivary secretion. So the basic mechanism of stimulation of these glands is by the local epithelial stimulation, which activates the enteric nervous system of the gut wall. So the mechanical presence of food in a particular segment of the gastrointestinal tract usually causes the glands of that region and adjacent region to secrete moderate to large quantities of juices. Part of this local effect, especially the secretion of mucus by mucus cells, results from direct contact stimulation of the surface glandular cells by the food. In addition, the local epithelial stimulation also activates the enteric nervous system of the gut wall. The types of stimulate that do this are: one is tactile stimulation, chemical irritation, and distension of the gut wall. The resulting nervous reflexes stimulate both the mucus cells on the gut epithelial surface and the deep glands in the gut wall to increase their secretion. So, moving on to the autonomic stimulation of secretion, we have parasympathetic and sympathetic. Parasympathetic stimulation increases the secretion and sympathetic has dual effect. Okay. So as we know already, the parasympathetic stimulation increases the secretion of the juices, and the sympathetic stimulation has dual effect on alimentary tract. So the stimulation of the sympathetic nerve going to the gastrointestinal tract causes a slight to moderate increase in secretion by some of the local glands. But sympathetic stimulation also result in constriction of the blood vessels that supply the glands. Therefore, sympathetic stimulation have dual effect. Sympathetic stimulation alone usually slightly increases the secretion. And if parasympathetic or hormonal stimulation is already causing copious secretion by the glands, superimposed sympathetic stimulation usually reduces the secretion, sometimes significantly so, mainly because of vasoconstrictive reduction of the blood supply. The nervous regulation of salivary secretion is mainly controlled by parasympathetic and sympathetic. Mainly it is done by the parasympathetic nervous system. So the salivatory nuclei are located approximately at the juncture of the medulla and pons and are excited by both taste and tactile stimuli from the tongue and other areas of the mouth and pharynx. Many taste stimuli, especially the sour taste, elicit copious secretion of saliva, and the tactile stimuli, that is presence of smooth objects in the mouth, cause marked salivation, whereas rough objects cause less salivation and occasionally can even inhibit the salivation. This sympathetic stimulation can also increase salivation a slight amount, much less so than does parasympathetic stimulation. The sympathetic nerves originate from the superior cervical ganglion, travel along the surface of the blood vessels wall to the salivary glands. A secondary factor that also affects the salivary secretion is the blood supply to the gland, because secretion always requires adequate nutrients from the blood. The parasympathetic nerve signal that induce copious salivation also moderately dilate the blood vessel. In addition, salivation itself directly dilates the blood vessel, thus providing increased salivatory gland nutrition as needed by the secreting cells. The reflex regulation of salivary secretions are of two types, that is unconditioned reflex and conditioned reflex. So unconditioned reflex is the inborn reflex that is present since birth. It does not need any previous experience. The reflex induces salivary secretion when any substance is placed in the mouth. It is due to the stimulation of the nerve endings in the mucous membrane of the oral cavity. The salivation can be stimulated or inhibited by nervous signals arriving in the salivatory nuclei from higher centers of the CNS. So when a person smells or eats favorite food, salivation is greater than when disliked food is smelled or eaten. This is the conditioned reflex. The appetite area of the brain, which partially regulates these effects, is located in the proximity to the parasympathetic centers of the anterior hypothalamus, and it functions to a great extent in response to signals from the taste and smell areas of the cerebral cortex or amygdala. Salivation also occurs in response to reflexes originating in the stomach and upper small intestine, particularly when irritating foods are swallowed or when a person is nauseated because of some gastrointestinal abnormality. The saliva, when swallowed, helps to remove the irritating factor in the gastrointestinal tract by diluting or neutralizing the irritant substances. There are some drugs which increase the salivation and decrease the salivation. You can go through the slide for further. Now finally to the applied physiology. We have hyposalivation, hypersalivation and some other disorders. Hyposalivation is nothing but it is the reduction in the secretion of saliva. So it can be temporary and permanent. Hypersalivation, it is excess secretion of saliva. The physiological conditions is like pregnancy, and other disorders in addition to hyposalivation and hypersalivation are xerostomia, drooling, coda tympani syndrome, paralytic secretion of saliva, augmented secretion of saliva, mumps, Sjogren's syndrome. Xerostomia means dry mouth. It is also called pasties or cotton mouth. It is due to hyposalivation or absence of salivary secretion. Drooling is uncontrolled flow of saliva outside the mouth. And cauda tympani syndrome is characterized by sweating while eating. During some surgical procedures, the parasympathetic nerve fibers to the salivary gland may be severed. And during the regeneration, some of these nerve fibers which run along with cauda tympani branch of facial nerve may deviate and join with the nerve fibers supplying the sweat glands. When the food is placed in the mouth, salivary secretion is associated with sweat secretion. And mumps, it is an acute viral infection affecting the parotid glands. And Sjogren's syndrome is an autoimmune disorder in which the exocrine glands such as lacrimal glands and salivary glands are destroyed, and it causes xerostomia, that is lack of saliva. Finally, to summarize, we have seen the physiological anatomy of the gastrointestinal tract, in which we have the serosa, the longitudinal muscular layers, circular muscular layers, submucosa. And coming to the electrical activity, two types, that is slow wave and spike waves. The slow waves per se does not cause any muscle contraction. It instead causes intermittent spikes of the spike waves and those spike waves causes the muscle contraction. In nerve fibers, it is the calcium channel that causes the contraction of the muscle in GIT. Moving on to the neural control of GIT, we have parasympathetic and sympathetic. So parasympathetic increases the gastrointestinal activity and sympathetic inhibits the gastrointestinal activity. And the functional type of movements of GIT are two, that is mixing and propulsion. In mixing, we have mastication. The mastication is nothing but a chewing process. It is a first mechanical process. And salivary glands, we have three major salivary glands: parotid, sublingual, submandibular. They are regulated by nervous and reflex. The nervous regulations are by sympathetic and parasympathetic, and reflex regulation are unconditioned and conditioned. And moving on to the applied physiology, we have hyposalivation, hypersalivation, and some other disorders. Thank you.